The secret to a perfect argument. Understanding why arguments happen in the first place. Most arguments begin over something incredibly surface or superficial. The perfect example that I can use, that I do use with most clients, is the dirty dishes, right? So you come home after a long day of work and you are exhausted. You open the door, throw your stuff on the floor, around the corner into the kitchen, and what do you see? Dishes piled up in the sink. This usually wouldn't bother you, except your partner has been home all day and they didn't think to make your day any easier. So you get upset. So you storm into the living room on a mission to validate your feelings and to make them understand how insensitive they are. Sound familiar? Here's the thing. The argument usually stems from a series of isolated incidents that has led to you feeling a lack of support in the relationship. Maybe your love language is acts of service, and you don't feel like your partner understands that. Maybe it's years of feeling disconnected from your spouse, and this is the straw that broke the camel's back. What I am getting at is this. The reason why you struggle with resolving conflict in your relationship is because you don't really know what is at the root of the issue. You know you're upset, and you know what made you upset in the moment, but you don't know why you are that upset. It is usually due to issues that have not been resolved over an extended period of time that has compounded over the weeks, months, and years. So, how do we begin to unpack some of these unresolved issues? Here's how. Step number 1, self-reflection. This step is crucial in being able to resolve issues. In this step, I like to implement that age-old saying, if you have nothing nice to say, do not say it at all. Before approaching your partner, give yourself some time to reflect on what is truly upsetting you. Is it the actual dishes or is it something else? Here are some questions to ask yourself. Number 1, why am I upset? Is this the first time I'm upset about this specific situation? Have I expressed my frustrations about this before? How can I present it differently? If I were my partner, how would I want to be approached? I highly recommend taking time to answer these questions in a notebook, diary, piece of paper, whatever it is you need to do, because it allows you to step outside of the situation and view it a little bit more objectively. The reason why arguments can drag on is because we are focusing on the subjective experience. If you only focus on the subjective experience, your own feelings, you might as well agree to disagree. A successful argument requires empathy. So, step 2 is initial contact. This step is not about having the actual argument. We are planning out when the conversation will happen. I want to be clear. This is applicable to situations that require a more serious conversation due to resentment or frustration that has built up over time. It's not realistic to plan out every conversation or argument. Therefore, these steps are reserved for more serious issues. It is very important to be clear and concise in your delivery while maintaining a level of respect that your partner deserves. An example of how to open the conversation would be, hey, honey, I know in the past when we've tried to talk through some of these issues, it hasn't gone very well. So I've been giving it some thought. And I wanted to try and change up how we have discussions about more serious things. Are you open to having a conversation this Saturday about how we can structure this moving forward? And I can share with you something that has been on my mind. I figured Saturday would be the best day since we are both off, so we won't be tired or distracted. What do you think? This will most likely lead to your partner asking what the conversation will be about. And it's okay to give a brief synopsis of what has been bothering you, but it is important that you reserve the meat and potatoes for the actual talk. This will also give your partner time to think things through. Step number 3, understanding the differences between a fair fight and an unfair fight. So, what is an unfair fight, right? The concept of fair and unfair fighting was introduced by Peter Whedon and George Bach in their book, The Intimate Enemy, back in 1976. As I mentioned above, the unfair fight usually ends without resolution and more issues than when you started. It is harmful, unproductive, and exhausting. The goal for any discussion or argument is to come to a resolution in which both parties feel emotionally satisfied and supported. So, what does an unfair fight look like? Here are some examples. So, number one, bad timing. This is straightforward. You or your partner are either exhausted from work, tired from taking care of the kids, in a bad mood, or just altogether not prepared for the conversation. It is inevitable that arguments will occur out of nowhere. However, how the argument is navigated makes all the difference in the world. It is okay to say, look, I'm not emotionally capable of handling this argument right now. Can we please table it for the time being and revisit it later today or tomorrow? The crucial part of this question statement is the follow-up. You must ensure to circle back to the conversation. If you do not, that is considered avoidance. Blaming, getting into a pattern of blaming your partner, will usually never end well and is not constructive to the conversation. Remember, the point of a discussion is to resolve issues. Often, I find that couples get into a pattern called the blame game, and this usually stems from deep hurt, frustration, or resentment that have yet to be resolved. It also comes from a place of not feeling understood. When we do not feel heard by our partner, we lack the empathy to understand where our partner is coming from because it's not fair. There are so many couple sessions that I have facilitated in which I hear the three magic words that are a clear indication to me that they are in a cycle of blame, which is that's not fair. It is a defense mechanism to protect their own pain and hurt while trying to intentionally or unintentionally dismiss their partner's feelings. Ultimatums, right? This is probably one, if not the worst of them all. Wielding an ultimatum in a fight is just as dangerous as thrashing a sword around without being properly trained. Someone is going to get cut or seriously injured. Ultimatums should never be used to get a point across or get your partner back in check, which I have also heard several times. The most common one I hear is, if you don't change this, I'm going to break up with you. I understand why a person sometimes feels like that is the only alternative left. However, there are other strategies. Have you even tried another strategy? Or do you continue trying to utilize the same approach but dress it up differently? The definition of insanity is trying the same thing repeatedly, expecting different results. That being said, what is a fair fight? A fair fight is when both parties are ready for the discussion or argument. As I have mentioned several times before, it is not always possible for that to happen. However, scheduling serious conversations will reduce the number of arguments drastically. Arguments are inevitable, but if you can change the approach, it will save you from multiple unnecessary arguments down the line. It is also important to note that a big part of fair fighting is acknowledging and validating your partner's feelings and thoughts. With that, here are some rules to having a fair fight. Number one, schedule the fight. Even if you are upset in the moment, try your best to recognize that a scheduled discussion will reap greater rewards. Having a fight the moment you are upset about something increases the chances of irrational thoughts and behaviors, which can cause more damage than good. When is the last time you said something in an argument you did not mean? How did you feel afterwards? You cannot take back your words, and if they are disrespectful, you will have even more to make up for. An example of scheduling an argument would be, hey, there's something that has been bothering me, right, that I don't feel is going to go away unless I'm able to sit down and discuss it with you. Are you able to speak tonight or tomorrow after we put the kids to sleep? This prepares your partner and involves them in the process of scheduling the conversation. The second thing is talking about the problem, right? So whatever it is that is bothering you, it must be discussed in that argument or discussion and must be stated clearly. Avoid using too much emotion and simply state the facts. I didn't like when you told me I was overreacting. You told me you would stop doing that. Avoid blaming your partner for how you are feeling. This will only put them on the defensive, right? So just state the facts and allow them to process and then answer. Say what you mean. Do not say it mean. Express your full range of emotions. We discussed this in a previous section, the fundamentals of communication. This is where you would apply the concept of a whole message. A whole message is what you see, think, need, and feel. I'm going to use an example from a longtime client of mine, right? So let's call him Bill. Bill came to me when his marriage was at the point of utter destruction. COVID had really unearthed some serious issues in their relationship, but the primary one was communication. So Bill had a tendency of saying what he meant, but saying it mean. To him, the more direct, the better. However, that is not how his wife processed information. He ended up being kicked out of the room and banished to the spare room, which was a wake-up call for him. Every morning, his children would see him in the office and wondered why he wasn't sleeping in the bedroom with mommy. One of the primary things we identified was that Bill was using contaminated messages instead of whole messages, right? So instead of fully expressing himself, he would say things such as, "The dishes aren't done, that's unfortunate." His delivery was condescending, which immediately put his wife on the defensive. He was only utilizing observation and the feeling part of the message. We began working on whole messages, which in turn completely transformed how Bill spoke to his wife. Now, Bill says things like, "Hey, I noticed there was a dirty dishes in the sink for the past couple of days, which I know isn't on purpose, but I prefer the sink to be empty because I get frustrated when the dishes start to pile up and I'm trying to prepare dinner. I'd be happy to do the dishes right now for you, but we did agree that dishes are your responsibility if I'm going to be the one cooking." Bill and his wife have managed to pull themselves out of their slump, and he is sleeping in their bed again. The resolution. This is the part of the conversation where a resolve is proposed. Both parties should be involved and there should be compromise. Do not talk over each other. Give each other 15 minutes to discuss your own individual ideas, how to move forward. Try to use as many examples as possible to drive the point home. To come to a resolution, it is crucial that you tackle one issue at a time. I oftentimes find that couples want to get everything out of the way at once, but end up not getting anywhere because they jump from topic to topic to topic. The best way to eat an elephant is in small, bite-sized pieces. Sorry to all you vegetarians and vegans out there, just an example. What are the consequences, right? It is important to be clear and direct. This is what we are categorizing as a boundary. An example would be if you start to raise your voice with me or pace back and forth like you usually do, I will end the conversation immediately and walk away. That way, your partner knows there are consequences to actions that are not helpful to the conversation. My recommendation is to come up with a safe word or sign before walking away. This will help your partner to understand why you are walking away. Cool down periods should be at least an hour, and I recommend doing something physical like taking a walk, exercising, whatever, to blow off the steam before you come back to the conversation, right? The most important thing in all of this is making sure you come back when you say you will. Check in with your partner. If they are still upset or you are still upset, add more time. And to end the argument, all disagreements should come to an end. Either you found the resolution or you agreed to disagree, or just postpone the conversation. Either way, the conversation should end on an up note instead of a down note. So here is the basic structure of preparing for a fair fight, right? So the preparation part. Give yourself time to write out everything you would like to say before the conversation. Remember, we are sticking to one subject or topic at a time, so focus on that one. If you are not a writer, voice record yourself and listen to it over and over until you feel comfortable with it. It is likely that you will make edits, which I highly recommend, right? Getting it out of your head and on paper or recording it always allows you to look at it objectively. This will help you to hear the message from your partner's perspective, which is also a great exercise in empathy, right? And understanding. So what does the structure look like? You set a time and a date, you discuss the issues at hand, use whole messages to express yourself, right? So what you observe, what you think, what you feel, and what you need. And that's it. That is the basic structure of having a solid argument where you actually feel like you are resolving conflict. If you feel like you need more, right? Like if you feel like you just have to have a better understanding of this because now you are realizing that communication is a big part of the issue in your relationship, I highly recommend the communication product, right? This is just a snapshot, a snippet of what you would get from the communication product, which is going to help you to better understand the fundamentals of how you are feeling and how to express those things to your partner if you are just sick and tired of fighting all the time. I'm telling you guys, this will help you exponentially in your relationship. It's probably going to look like a completely different relationship after you have done this training. I can't tell you how many clients have come to me after taking the training and saying, oh my God, Coach Danny, like this, this has completely changed my perspective on communication, right? I think we have a general idea as to what we think communication looks like and feels like for us. But when you really sit down and start to learn the fundamentals of communication, we come to realize how many things are actually missing, right? That hinder us from being able to have a productive conversation with our partner. So if you are tired of fighting, if you are tired of not getting your message across, if you feel incredibly frustrated because you just don't feel like your partner is understanding you, get the communication product. I'm telling you, it is going to change your life. That being said, I hope you enjoyed the gift. I hope you got something out of this and that you start to implement it and action it as soon as possible, because that is why I created this gift for you. My name is Danny. I'm your life and relationship coach. Hope you guys are all staying happy and healthy, and I'll see you guys in the next video.